Okay, I'll start over. Morning,
Sorry,
everyone.
Neil.
Welcome, everyone, today. Glad you could join us. We'll start with introductions. I'm Dale Stein, Chair. Matt? Can't hear you, Matt. You're still muted. Darren?
Darren Heckling, Vice Chair, voting member.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you are,
I'm
Matt.
sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
had everything muted here.
That's okay. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Matt Brower, voting member.
Thank you. Scott? You muted, Scott?
Yes, we were. Sorry, try again.
Scott Ryan,
SWCC voting member.
Thank you. Okay, Bethany, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dale. Bethany Bisdu, Executive Director of State Soil and Water Conservation Committee.
Jason Coquinos, Water Quality Grants Manager of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee.
Tim Clark, engineer.
Okay, we do have Brian Steinmuller here with us, not present in the room, so when he gets back, I will let him introduce himself. I will go through a roll call of advisory members. Oh, first, Brian Steinmuller, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Brian Steinmuller, Assistant Director of Division of Land and Water Resources, Ag and Markets.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so roll call of advisory members. Markets.
Good morning. This is Jeff Keogh. I work with agricultural districts.
Morning, Jeff. Department of State.
Hi, Kate Black.
Morning, Kate. Department of Health.
Good morning, everyone. Morgan Tarbo.
Morning, Morgan. Okay, do we have anyone on the line from Cornell Cooperative Extension? Cornell Kales?
Jared Popley, New York State Water Resources Institute here.
Morning, Jared.
Good morning.
How about DEC?
William Fuller here from New York DEC.
Good morning. SUNY ESF? And NRCS? Okay, so now I will move to a roll call of state committee staff who are on the line. Bear with me. Chastity Miller, before you introduce yourself, I just want to say welcome, Chastity, to your first official state committee meeting as a state committee staff member.
Thank you, Bethany. Chastity Miller here at EM.
Right. Greg Albrecht.
Bethany, Dale, everyone, good morning. Greg Albrecht, Principal Environmental Analyst and AIM Coordinator with Ag and Markets and the State Committee.
Bear with me here. Okay. Ryan Cunningham.
Morning, everyone. Ryan Cunningham, State Committee, field staff for the North Country.
Tyler Knapp.
Good morning, everyone. Tyler Knapp, Program Analyst here at the State Committee.
Okay, have I missed any state committee staff on the line?
Bethany Ben Luskin, Region 5 AEA.
Sorry about that, Ben. Any others?
Yeah. Good morning, Bethany. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist for the State Committee.
Morning, Brendan. Okay, so I will also extend a welcome to all of the conservation districts that have called in to participate in the meeting this morning, as well as any of our other partners or members of the public that have called in today. Please feel free to enter your name and affiliation into the chat for the record.
It's John Wright, Orange County Soil and Water.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Okay, Dale, I think that wraps up our introductions.
Great. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you for participating today. Next on our agenda is a review and approve of last month's meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Motion to approve, please.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Moved down second. It'll go to voting. Matt?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Do we have any correspondence, Bethany?
The only correspondence I want to highlight today that we've received over the past month are a number of district newsletters and district annual reports. We've received some hard copy that are available here in the office at Albany for folks to peruse, but we've also received several periodicals in the digital format. In addition to the district newsletters and district annual reports, we recently received the June edition of the CDEA News.
Excellent. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Ag Non-Point Source with Jason and Tyler.
Hey, good morning, Dale. Thanks. Real quick, I'll run through a dashboard of Ag Non-Point. 8 active rounds currently in Ag Non-Point Source, 365 total contracts, and that's estimated value of $21 million. 7 pending contracts, and those are estimated at $2.2 million. We have 164 active contracts, and that's just under $61 million. And we had a couple closeouts come in this past month, and we're at 181 completed contracts, and those are estimated at just under $56.5 million.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll fill in a little bit on, I want to mention round 22. There was one remaining contract that we did review and approve of yesterday. So that will by next month be able to be taken off our table here and put into the completed column. We are just waiting for a return fund check on this. This was an access control and livestock heavy use area in the Great Sacandaga Lake watershed. So that was great to get that round complete. So there are 7 contracts that have not reached full execution yet. We're monitoring those. And then for a round 30 update, soon we'll be able to update our table with round 30. We are developing a new RFP, application and evaluation instrument. We're going to be seeking some input from the TAC next meeting in September, and then bringing final approval of round 30 RFP to state committee in September also. So working on that, and we'll bring you updates next time we meet this meeting.
Any amendments today?
There are two amendments, and they are, I'll go over them now, paired amendments. So they are two soil health grants that were done by Cayuga County in partnership with Tompkins and Seneca County districts. These are, as I said, soil health grants that worked with about 13 farms in each grant to implement cover crops 340, ranging from 100 to several thousand acres per farm. The implementation portion of the grant is completed. However, 3 remaining soil health seminars are pending per contract to be completed. So the district is requesting an additional 6 months to finish up this portion of the project. They were slow to start the project due to timing of state funds being implemented originally, and then some logistical challenges of getting the soil health seminars together and finding an appropriate place to meet and getting everyone on the same page. So they are just requesting a extension through the end of this calendar year to finish the grant, finish the soil health seminars, and process the closeout paperwork with us. PJ Emmerich has supported the each amendment, and he defers to state committee. So these are 2 separate contracts, as I say, so I guess motions would have to be made on each one, but I'm available for contracts on each, or questions on each contract as needed.
Questions or comments, anyone? Could I get a motion to on the first amendment, please?
I make motion. Staff.
And a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
and Scott.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Can I get a motion now on the second amendment?
Vote.
And a second, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Go to voting. Darren, Matt,
Aye.
and Scott.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Any other amendments?
Not for me today, thank you.
Anything else you have on Ag non-point source?
Nope, that's it. To be continued for next meeting with round 30. We're excited for that presentation.
Great. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a CRF with Jennifer and Tyler.
All right, thanks, Dale. Quick dashboard updates for CRF. We have 5 active rounds, 185 total contracts, and that's estimated at about $32.5 million. Round 7 is still pending, so we have 60 active contracts pending there, and that's just under $16 million. We have 66 active contracts, just over $11 million, and we did have a couple closeouts come in for CRF as well, so we're at 43 completed contracts across those rounds, and that's just under $4 million.
Any
Thank
amendments? Go ahead.
Well, I was just say thank you, Tyler. So Jennifer is unable to be with us today, but has provided some additional updates that Brian is going to run through. So if you guys just give me 1 second, I'll pull up the PowerPoint.
Yeah, thank you, Bethany. As she's pulling up the PowerPoint, I will be providing a brief update on the round 8 solicitation, which closed at the end of June. Some really good news to share on that. And then I will go through the amendments and a little shift in the order of amendments. We'll do the Fulton County one last so that our voting member, Matt Brower, can recuse himself from that discussion. So All right, thank you so much. And as Bethany mentioned, Jennifer was unable to be here today, so I will give this update and forgive me, I might not have all the details at my fingertips, but Jennifer and team have prepared an excellent briefing here on round 8. So you all remember round 8, thank you, came in with federal funding, and we worked for many months to figure out how best to integrate the federal funding through the Partnership with Climate Smart Commodities into this round 8 RFP. So huge debt of gratitude goes out to all districts who engaged in discussions with us and provided really important feedback on how we can structure this RFP. So it took months to get to the point where, you know, we were comfortable with how we would integrate the federal funding through different tracks within the RFP to leave a state option. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but just setting the stage. So a state option for funding for practices and a federal option for practices. And, you know, with $29 million in available funds for this particular round, it was the highest level of any single round of funding that's ever been administered through this office. So that was just to set the stage. So what happened? In round 8, applications were due on June 24th, and we received 107 applications. Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. Okay. And with $29 million available, we had a request of $48.6 million total. And on the screen here, you can see how that compares to round 7, where we received 83 applications. Again, round 7 was huge. That was a pretty major increase in funding, and districts and farmers met the moment there with the highest level of demand ever for this program, and far eclipsed that with the following round. Again, with $29 million available, districts put in $48.6 million in requests. And that was across all the tracks that were available through round 8, which we'll get into here in just a moment. Go ahead, Bethany. Thank you. And just as a reminder, these are the goals of the Climate Resilient Farming Program. 1, to reduce emissions on farm. 2, to increase carbon sequestration on farmland. And 3, and incredibly important, is to prepare farmers for a changing climate, making them more resilient to things such as extreme heat and drought, as well as extreme precipitation and flooding. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a breakdown of what was available for each of the rounds of, each of the tracks during round 8. And again, as I mentioned before, we had both a state and a federal option. So 1A was the state-only option. We made $4.5 million available to reduce methane emissions from livestock operations. This includes alternative manure management projects, specifically cover and flare and others, as well as precision feed management. Track 1B was just cover and flare projects, 100% cost share. We had $7 million available. Track 2, adaptation and resiliency, with $5 million available. Again, this is water management as a priority, preparing farms for too little and too much water. Track 3A was the state option for healthy soils projects, where we made $4.5 million available. Track 3B was soil health projects for just federal funding with $7 million. Track 4, new track to CRF, was agricultural forest management, starting out with a $500,000 focused appropriation from the legislature. And we were able to use available funds from other rounds to include a $1 million offering for this, for a total of $29 million. Next slide. And this is how it shook out. So many of the tracks were oversubscribed. A couple of the tracks were just undersubscribed. But with track 1A, with $4.5 million, $16.5 million in requests. I looked over to Jason, who's administering the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Methane Management Program, that could potentially provide another avenue for those farms, as we know there's going to be quite a few projects there that are not going to receive funding, just as how competitive it was. Track 1B, cover and flare projects, $7 million available, $10.2 million in requests. Track 2, adaptation resiliency, we were undersubscribed. This is 2 years in a row. I think this does provide us with an opportunity to discuss with districts and get more feedback on what we might do to potentially modify this track into the future. Track 3A, healthy soils, New York, $4.5 million available with $11.4 million in requests. Track 3B, soil health projects, federal funded, 7 million available, just shy, a little over 6.9 million requested there. And agricultural forest management, new track, about half of the funds requested, the one was available. But I had a chance to look at those applications, definitely some very thoughtful applications to that first initial track. So pleased with that so far. And again, 106 farms total. And there's the track by track breakdown, how many farms per track. And as you can see, alternative manure management projects, cover and flare, and others are very, expensive projects, with the amount of funding that is available and the amount of farms that actually came in to propose to their districts. As you can see, these projects continue to get more and more expensive. So, again, great turnout though for the amount of funds requested. Next. Thank you. So here are some other statistics, and thank you to the team for putting these together in such short order. There's a lot of great information here. 50% of the projects include new participants or beginning farmers. Again, we started to focus on that through our CRF program in the last couple of rounds to really kind of bring more farms, diverse farms and diverse farmers into the program. So that is a pretty significant number there. 50% are new and beginning farmers. Cover and flare projects. Again, track 1A state, 10 on 6 farms. Track 1B, 5 on 4 farms. 122 farms proposing over 100,000 acres of cover crops. That's the highest ever in any particular round of funding. That's huge. And also 9 farms proposing 30 acres of riparian buffers, with 24 of those being riparian forest buffers. I don't know, guys, if that's counted within those track 4. I think that's in addition to track 4, forest management, right? Tyler's.
That's correct.
Excellent. So again, that's 24 more acres of forest buffers and tree plantings. 2 farms with track 1A precision feed management. Again, trying to broaden our scope to not just address manure methane, but also address enteric. So, that's great to see. And that is certainly hopefully a sign of more momentum in that area to come. 32 projects include equipment purchases. CRF does allow for equipment to facilitate conservation practices, in the field. And I think that's a pretty high number there, major increase over previous rounds. And track 4, again, undersubscribed, but pretty thoughtful proposals there with 8 farms, 7 with flat rate tree establishment on 82 acres, with 80 acres of that bare root, and 2 with container stock, and 1 with forest stand improvement. So forest management within an existing forest. Pretty significant work there. And estimated greenhouse gas reductions from Comet Planner and IPCC calculations of 156,500 metric tons. That is certainly the highest in any one particular round, and represents a pretty significant chunk. Now, again, we won't be able to fund that all, but it shows the level of demand out there. Next slide. Just as a reminder, here's the scoring criteria: 50 points per reviewer, 4 reviewers for a total of 200 points, with the majority of the points going to greenhouse gas emission reduction and resiliency, the district's ability and the farmers and the partnership to get the work done, the adequate scope of work, 10 points, budgeting and cost effectiveness, another 10 points. Again, new participant and beginning farmer benefit, 5 preference points are available for round 8, same as last round. And a definition of farmer who has not been awarded a CRF or Ag Now Point Source grant gets a new participant preference. Beginning farmers are those that have not operated a farm for more than 10 consecutive years. This has been successful in bringing 49 new participants into the CRF program. And again, this has started in round 6. So 50 new participant and beginning farmers proposed under round 8. We continue that trend and momentum. Next slide, please. And I wanted to mention this before with the 4 reviewers. Those are external, and with reviewers also from the Department of Ag and Markets. So huge debt of gratitude. Thanks go to those advisory members in advance for their work in reviewing and scoring projects. Pre-review meeting was held on July 9th. Applications for scoring will be sent to those reviewers very soon, and the goal is to have a ranked list of the committee for their approval in September so that we can be ready to award announcements for Climate Week, which is September 22nd through 29th. And I have to say, I think the reviewers will have their work cut out for them this year. But huge thanks to those reviewers for their work in advance. And thank you so much. And again, I want to thank Jennifer and the team for putting together this excellent PowerPoint. You know, a lot of great information, all boiled down and synthesized in a very short period of time. And we'll have more to come in future committee meetings. Any questions?
How many total farms did you say applied?
I think there was 106. Do I remember that correctly? It was in here somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, those are applications. We have those are applications, and the tally of farms associated with those applications is 227.
So that number wasn't in here, right?
No, it was not. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you. I was recalling 106, and I was pleased that I had that level of memory left in. But no, that's great. Thank you for that.
That was left for a punchline. Good question there, Bethany. Thanks.
Yeah. Districts just knocked it out of the park, man.
Well, and I was asking because of the number of applications with cover crops. So, you know, that's like 50% of our applications came in with some sort of cover crops, ish, roughly.
Yeah, 122
That's
farms.
pretty impressive.
Yep. Also, just one other thing to mention, our program manager for climate smart commodities, he's on detail. He's with Farm Service Agency out of the state of South Dakota. He will be traveling to New York to meet with the team in August. And we have some pretty good news to share with him. And between the DEC and the Ag and Markets State Committee team, we're hoping to get him out in the field to see some projects, Regenerate New York on the DEC side and CRF projects on the state committee side. So stay tuned. We'll probably give a recap of that visit at our September state committee meeting. Okay, I guess I'm still on the clock here. All right. Next, I will present the amendments. And like I said before, we'll do Fulton County last, but we'll start off with Wayne County. Soil and Water Conservation District is asking for a one-year time extension from 6/30/2024 to 6/30/2025. The reason is the district is requesting the time extension due to a lengthy SHPO review, the identification of possible cultural resource impacts, and the need to relocate the project site because of SHPO concerns. A new location has been identified, and the farm is committed to completing the water management practices within the requested timeframe. Vic DiGiacomo supports the request and refers to the state committee. They have not received any previous amendments.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second. Scott.
Thank you. I moved in second and go to voting. Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
approved. Thank you. Next.
Thank you. Next, we'll do Washington County. This is Region 4, and they are also requesting an extension just over 2 years from 6/30/2024 to 9/30/2026. The district is requesting no cost time extension due to complications securing interseeder equipment. The time extension will allow the equipment to be used for 2 seasons as originally proposed and to allow for a field day for farmer education. The farmers are committed to completing the projects within the requested timeframe. Ryan Cunningham, Region 4 AEA, supports the request, refers to the state committee, and they have not received any previous amendments.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Moved in second and I'll go to voting. Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next.
Next one will be Fulton County. I believe Matt just left the meeting temporarily.
Okay.
Still there?
Technically Still on. So Matt, I think we'll actually have to have
There he
this.
goes.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, he's off now.
All right, thank you. All right, so the last one is Region 3 Fulton County. And they are also requesting a time extension from June 30th, 2024 to December 31st, 2025, about 18 months. And the reason that the district is requesting no cost time extension is due to complications securing equipment, and which led to lower the deliverables. The additional time will allow for soil health practices to be implemented as planned. The farm is committed to completing the project within the requested timeframe. Scott Fickbaum, Region 3, supports the request, refers to the state committee, and they have not received any previous amendments.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So move.
And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Go to voting. Darren,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
and I will also vote aye. Approved. Any others, Brian?
No, I think that's it. And thank you so much for giving me the mic. This was fun.
You want
Brought me
to,
back.
you gonna send a message to Matt?
Yes.
Or how do you want to get him
Oh,
back
yes.
on?
Thank you.
Yeah, we need him back.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, we'll go ahead and get rolling on our next part. New York State Soil and Health Policy with Greg and Bethany.
Thank you, Dale. So I'm gonna, I guess, introduce the topic and then pass things off to Greg Albrecht. So this agenda item is a follow-up to a discussion that the state committee had on February 27th. At the February meeting, I presented correspondence that the state committee received from Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District. That correspondence was received on December 20th of 2023. However, just due to our state committee meeting schedules, it wasn't presented to the state committee until February. That correspondence expressed concerns that the district had with the requirements that are written into the soil health policy to certify cover crop practices for a New York State funded program. The correspondence reflected that the current district manager has 43 years of experience and previously held NRCS job approval authority to design and approve a wide range of conservation practices. Because of the way the soil health policy is written, the district manager currently does not have the authority to certify cover crops that are implemented through our New York State funded programs, because the policy states that a certified crop advisor or someone with current NRCS job approval authority or someone who is an NRCS certified planner must sign off on soil health practices. After the discussion at the February state committee meeting, state committee staff were tasked by the voting members to review the requirements of the policy and assess if any accommodations could be made to allow the Orange County District Manager to be able to certify practices that are implemented through our New York State funded programs. We have developed a recommendation that Greg Albrecht will present to the state committee today. But before I pass things off, Greg, I do want to just restate that all voting members have received a copy of that correspondence. I sent it out with the meeting materials in advance of today, so folks could refresh themselves on the letter. We also distributed the recommendation and a copy of the current soil health policy as part of our meeting materials as well. Greg, would you like to share your screen, or do you want me to pull anything up? Perfect.
Great. You can see that okay, Bethany?
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks, Bethany, for that introduction, and everybody for the consideration here. We wanted to take a moment to just revisit some key elements of the longstanding soil health policy, and then talk through some of the elements that you received in advance of this meeting of our state committee staff analysis and recommendations for today. So just a couple key elements from our soil health policy that supports all of our cost share programs with the practices directly associated with soil health. One is a really important starting point, and it's the goal of the soil health practices and the state committee's support of such and priority of such practices. And that's to promote soil health principles, to improve soil conservation, carbon sequestration, water infiltration, and holding capacity, those climate resilient, climate preparedness elements, nutrient cycling, crop yields, and resiliency to the effects of climate change. Goes on, another key element to just have in mind is that in order to help that along with farmers and their goals in these areas across the state, we offer cost share programs that are intended to provide the kind of near-term benefits while we're in contract with those farmers through our cost share programs, but more importantly, provide the amount of time through the 3 to 5 years of, let's say, cover cropping with a farm, so that the district staff person and or partners work with the farm to hone the practice, find value in the practice, so it leads to the adoption and long-term use of those practices, and they're incorporated into the normal farm management such that no longer are cost share dollars needed for that after the contract period. They're just a part of their cropping system at that point. And while our numbers to date, and this is just state committee numbers, certainly need to recognize those that are accomplished through NRCS programs and so on, but we've contracted with a little over 200,000 acres of cover crops to date. You just saw those numbers and the response that happens when we have a larger grant offering like CRF 8, and you get 100,000 plus acres. But if we look at the cover croppable acres in the state, there's easily 1 million every year. And so at $83 an acre, it really adds up to be able to perpetually fund those acres. So to achieve these goals, to have living roots, cover, crops in the soil near 365 days a year, it really depends fundamentally and significantly on the long-term adoption of these soil health practices like cover crops out beyond our programs. So those are really fundamental elements of our soil health policy. And to support that, we developed the soil health policy starting with simple collaborative discussions back in 2014. I think the first sort of formal one was in Onondaga County, a huddle with state committee staff and districts, and figure out how we might streamline and make more formal and promote and really advance our work in soil health practices. And that led to the soil health policy that was instituted in 2014 and supported round 20 of the Ag Non-Point Source program, and has been revisited every year with every round of funding because it supports that set of soil health practices, whether it's ag non-point source or CRF or even the AIM-based program. And it's evolved and adapted both in terms of costs of implementation over time, as well as technical approaches to cover crops. For instance, when it first started, we had a spec sheet that we worked with NRCS on for all of the elements for implementing cover crops. And, now there's a much more dynamic spreadsheet that's involved with that NRCS has developed to better serve those soil field management conditions for folks pursuing cover crops, as an example. Bethany summarized nicely the practice certification requirements that ride along with our soil health policy. And those are really critical for those reasons, we stated before, where we're working with farms to understand their cropping systems, their soil, their equipment, their labor, in the pursuit of working with them in the higher risk period of, management change when you're just starting out for 3, 4, 5 years under contract, to be able to hone that system every year and work such that the farm has it as a part of their standard management at the end of the contract. And it made sense for a number of reasons that we'll get into in our sort of articulation of the justification for this, to have that associated with a certified crop advisor or NRCS job approval authority for that practice, or an NRCS certified planner to be involved in that project and certify those practices. You'll notice we don't have the AIM planner certified planner in that list, and that's just because all of those folks are also certified crop advisors. We also realized even in the first iteration and back in 2014 and around 20 that that could be exclusive pretty quickly if we didn't have a backup plan that was multi-level, for districts that do not have a certified crop advisor or some of the other certified staff on staff. We will, absolutely work and help with their existing staff to pursue certification, to partner with local CCAs, whether from a neighboring district or extension or private sector, to be able to have that person involved in the project to not only work with the farmer in that quality time as they, continue to advance their approaches to cover cropping, conservation tillage, whatever the soil health practices are, but also, to serve as a mentor and someone that the district staff person could, work with and learn from through these projects while they pursue certifications like CCA. And as a very, final backup there, if there continue to be limitations in access to these qualified individuals, there are several of us on staff with the state committee who are certified crop advisors. So, if you kind of look around the whole community of us, at least within the districts and the state committee, there are 33 certified crop advisors across 25 districts. And I'm sorry, I don't have a map, but it's a quite a good spread across all of New York State. There's 6 certified crop advisors on the state committee staff, 8 if you expand across the Division of Land and Water Resources. And then pardon me while I switch over to a website here, I'll just throw this in the chat. There's also the CCA website. You don't need a login for this, but there's a find a professional, find a CCA search option there too, to help, just get a better view of who might be available, even outside of the district network. And, you'll see any CCAs here. They might be from extension. They might be from, private sector consultancies or ag product sales. Chat. All right. So, thinking about this and, analyzing the question brought forth a lot of familiar concepts that, you've heard discussed as we've been honing the soil health policy over the last decade. So we, worked from notes and discussions and PowerPoint presentations to pull the justifications for requiring this suite of individuals to be a part and required for certification for soil health practices as part of the policy, and summarize them in the following sort of key and really important points. One kind of goes without saying, it's knowledge of agronomic practices. And really a comprehensive view of it, because that's how the farmer has to operate and live with it, and will really dictate the success of the project, of how well and how efficiently it's integrated into their cropping system. So what do we have for cover crop plant species, for instance? What do we have for cropping systems, their tillage and seedbed prep? And then it gets into for instance, in this case, the action of cover cropping, of seeding rates, steps, fertility requirements, planting methods, timings, termination timings. Is it a farm that's looking at double cropping opportunity, for instance, where it would even impact the selection of corn hybrids, so they might shorten that up, and what's the best approach for that, for their environment and their soils and management, so they could get a cover crop in earlier and then harvest it as a forage crop in May, and then plant corn a little bit later than they might have if it was just terminated at 8 or 10 inches. So a lot of agronomic practices, a lot of questions to field from farmers. And, for instance, that certified crop advisor provides a good standard base across the state to be in a position to help with those questions. And if not, perhaps the network of other certified crop advisors to get a buddy and get some help. Again, strong emphasis on helping in the early days of these practices so that they become regular parts of farms management. So adoption by farmers is beyond our cost share programs. That's not picking on us, the same for NRCS or any cost share program. We're only going to accumulate these acres across the state if that happens. The other benefit of things like the certified crop advisor are current and relevant continuing education, 40 continuing education units every year, in addition to the build-up and training requirements, education requirements that lead to getting your CCA. We also have a priority on the state committee, and the districts do as well, to be engaged in those ongoing trainings. All of the trainings, for instance, that the CDEA puts forward that have courses that are relevant for soil and water management, nutrient management, pest management, and crop management, and professional development, have CCA, CEUs applied for and available for them. And the state committee staff and districts currently, Jessica Heim and Lisa Keenley has provided leadership, work with or on the Northeast Region CCA board to drive these training priorities so that they're relevant for our work in conservation. We see it as an important part of district capacity. It's at the heart of our state committee strategic plan, and even the most recently updated one. of building education experience, training, networks, and capacity over time. And CDA is, or excuse me, and CCA is an excellent pathway to do that for, more of these agronomic, nutrient management, soil conservation, in the field practices. Certainly CCA, and we never intended to imply this, does very little for other than overlaps with soil and conservation practices of like forest management or stream corridor management or things like that, or engineering practices like one might find around farmsteads. But for everything else, with agronomy around grazing systems, agronomy and nutrient management and soil conservation around our cropping systems, it couldn't be more relevant. With CCA, if you look around at other organizations, especially as we gain in profile with our accomplishments and the amounts of funding and the competitiveness for funding, organizations with highly relevant certified staff, people on staff are better equipped to really be that, in our case, natural resource conservation lead locally. And that's a great pathway we've been on, and just makes a lot of sense to us to continue and to build that. And like I said before, there's 33 CCAs across 25 districts, and at every basic CCA training that I'm a part of every year in late November and December, hats off to the districts. At least a quarter, if not a third, of those that are taking the class are newer district employees pursuing that, and that's just excellent. The nice part of that is that you're part of a network for partnerships. CCA brings people from different parts of our ag production and ag conservation community together, private sector, crop sale, crop production protection and production product companies, equipment companies, Cornell Cooperative Extension, some NRCS, private sector, conservation planning companies, like those who tend to be the primary planner for CAFO permitted farms, as well as districts together. And that's a really good network to, be a part of and be knowledgeable of on a first name basis for all the types of work that we're doing with farms. It also is a signal about, recruiting long-term, highly skilled professions into organizations like soil and water conservation districts. When we show this in job descriptions and meet it with the salary to attract, that's a powerful long-term combination there that we see as key to having districts as the local lead conservation organization. And there's a practical element for, let's say, the state committee, or you might say the CDEA, any sort of overarching organizing entity, in that professional certifications, whether they're CCA or for foresters, are managed by those very well by those professional organizations. They have the structure, code of ethics, CEU requirements, criteria for accepting CEU applications, and then accepting them once they've been accomplished. Following up with folks who are behind on CCAs and the appeals or certification loss repercussions that come from that. Those are all pretty administratively heavy tasks. And, that, for instance, groups like the state committee staff don't have the capacity to do right now. So, really excellent opportunity to partner up with a third party relevant certification group to provide those services for us. So those are, some of the rationales or the rationales summarized across a handful or so different reasonings that have, discussed and a part of our advancement of the soil health policy over the last decade. And you're probably seeing this coming, leads to the recommendation of maintaining the existing soil health policy and its certification requirements, but continuing to keep an open eye to other opportunities, whether they may be through other pathways with NRCS or elsewhere, and continuing to work, since the request came specifically from Orange County, with Orange County District in their pursuit of staff for CCA certification. And it's absolutely excellent. And in the near term, with connections to local CCAs, either at a couple of nearby districts with CCA or NRCS certified planners on staff, or as a backup with our own staff on the state committee. I appreciate the extended time there, and to walk through this sort of organization of the underlying rationales for our soil, that part of the soil health policy, and then our recommendation from the analysis here for the state committee.
I will open it up for questions and comments.
I've got a few questions on it. And I had to go through this stuff fairly quickly given the time of year. So hopefully I understood everything correctly. But with the policy for the person who does the planning and the 5 evaluations, the conversations with the farmers initially, they don't have to be a CCA?
That's correct. And the thorough version of that is that, like with any practice, they're reaching out if they're unsure, inexperienced, could use a buddy to a CCA, and that could be on staff, neighboring district, neighboring extension, you name it, right? So that they're feeling technically proficient with the farmer, right? And that's right. And then the certification of the practice comes with that CCA or person with NRCS JA or an NRCS certified planner.
Right. Well, and that leads me to my next question. What would it take for a district staff person to get job approval authority with NRCS for this, if they're not a CCA?
Yeah, good question. And I think I'll be able to answer part of this. I reached out to some colleagues at NRCS at the state level and asked these questions. And certainly, if we desired a presentation in the exploration of this, let's keep looking at other valuable, relevant, worthwhile pathways in our recommendation. My current understanding based on that discussion is that the conservation partner, in this case, the Soil and Water District, right, we need to be under an agreement with the NRCS, so memorandum of agreement to complete USDA work. So if a district is not in one of those, they would not be eligible, and the agreement would have them, working with NRCS on some of their project work. In other words, if someone was I guess co-located, had an agreement, but really didn't have one, didn't really have any intention of working on NRCS projects, NRCS does not have the capacity at this time to, support them in JA. Then in terms of, well, let's say, all those things were in line. NRCS staff, both local and statewide, would work with that individual with training courses, review of work, quality assurance, to determine whether they could grant JA, and then over time, spot checks.
With the agroforestry policy, there's a couple different options. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be a certified forester to certify the practice, right? There's like other options for education experience.
Yeah, and they match the essentially the requirements of being a certified forester. So we're still leaning on those, on the Society of American Foresters criteria for bachelor's or associate's degree in set coursework, and then experience criteria. Just they haven't taken that exam for the SAF certification, for instance.
Right. My personal thinking on this thing, and I put a lot of thought into this since the topic first came up, is that when it comes to some of the points you made there, conversations with the farmer, knowing the cropping practices, so on and so forth, I would hope that a district staff person with 25, 30 years of experience would know those things and would have a good relationship with the farmer, and the farmer would have confidence in the staff person. Given the increased interest in the cover crop based on the numbers we were told this morning from this last round 8 there, we want to be able to certify these things efficiently and not have things get held up. I think we need to look at the other options and I'm in favor of every district staff person being a certified crop advisor. I was one. It's a good program, and the continuing ed is good. But I do think myself that we should look at other options, possibly the CDEA, when they do the training, having some type of coursework that whether half day, all day, whatever, that a district staff person could attend and get certified to be able to certify the soil health systems. I just think that it would be a good thing to have, as the number of acres of cover crop increases, hopefully, and you already have a district staff person out there planning these things and working with the farmer in the initial stages. Again, if they have 25, 30 years of experience working in the county, working with the farmer, hopefully they have a good understanding of all these things. And with some additional training, maybe if they haven't taken the CCA test, they still could be qualified to do the certification. And that's my thinking. And I'd like to see kind of, I guess, some kind of target maybe to come up with some alternatives, whether it be 2-3 months from now or whatever. But I wouldn't want to leave this open-ended that we're going to continue to look at it. I'd like to see some sort of deadline, I guess, so that we come up with options within the next 3 months, whatever, that the state committee can consider as alternatives to a person having to be a CCA to certify these practices. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, kind of an agreement with Matt. If we want them to be a CCA, is there some way we could kind of fast track somebody like that to becoming a CCA? If they have that much experience?
Yeah, it would be taking passing the exams with that documented experience base. It's one can read about it, but it's based on education, experience, and exams. The exams are offered now in a much more dynamic way online. It used to be once a year in person.
I guess I'm a bit torn between it after listening to Matt, because Matt has a great deal of experience in this field and I don't. And I tend to follow his line of thinking in that if we're going to increase acreage as much and funding as much as we are, is there a way to fast track long-term experienced staff to what is needed? At the same time, I do not want to tear this program apart. I think it's an excellent program. It works very well, and it is growing and it is probably the highest soil health is probably the highest participation program in the state with farmers, I think, overall for numbers. So, what are the thoughts by staff on coming back in 60 or 90 days with some recommendation on how to fast track this? Is it feasible? I don't know if it is. You got to tell me.
That's fair. One thing that's, it's hard to, or, all of us collectively to maintain a list of are the other competing products that we need to develop across the state committee programs. So, we have several advancements for water quality to develop with AIM Tier 2 and Tier 3 sheets or protocols, a climate planning protocol, a couple other pathways for funding with the climate smart commodity funding, one for a cover and flare incentive payment program, as well as a precision feeding management program. So I just, as staff and supervisor of staff, I get a little nervous about work in areas that are highly functioning to take away limited time we have to work on areas that we're tasked with that don't have years of development into. So that's just a practical concern.
If I may jump in here a little bit, Greg?
Yeah, sure.
I do just want to, I guess, reiterate that in our recommendation, we are always committed to continually looking at our program policies and revising them, as appropriate if there is a need to do so, to dive into this policy and develop alternatives that would likely closely resemble the CCA approach in terms of what would be needed in order to demonstrate knowledge, skills, and abilities. I think it would take more than 60 to 90 days. And if I can be quite frank, I'm not sure that this is an issue statewide. It is, I believe, very regionalized issue. And there are alternatives currently written in the policy that the district can pursue in the meantime. If this is a direction that the voting members would like us to pursue, I think we would need more time. And in the meantime, in the immediate, we are committed to continuing to work with Orange County Soil and Water to offer our staff support to certify the practices and to continue to work with them to make those local connections as necessary.
Your part about it not being a statewide issue, I agree. And how much staff time it would take to develop some type of workable alternative is a serious problem with all the other work that has to be done that is statewide issues.
Bethany, this is Caitlin, if I may. I believe it was suggested that CDEA should host trainings for this. Pardon me, my voice is shot. I do believe that trainings are offered every year, and perhaps Greg, you could chime in on that. I'm texting with Ryan on the phone trying to get some clarification, but I do believe that trainings are hosted every year for certified crop advisors. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's a good point. And those are there's kind of two tracks of those trainings almost. One they're offered by the Northeast Region Certified Crop Advisor Board themselves. And, you know, they have a basic track for those not yet certified, as well as an advanced track for existing certified crop advisors who are taking courses to stay current and updated and relevant and satisfy their continuing education unit requirements. Certainly we all, pretty much everybody on the phone here, you know, is involved with some sorts of trainings, whether at the formal conservation skills workshop or water quality symposium or the several in between that also offer, you know, relevant training for things like soil health management. And, you know, where that's relevant, we offer certified crop advisor credits for those. So those happen, those would still need to be in a framework of, you know, what have you taken across nutrient management, soil and water management, crop management, pest management? What's your education experience? What's your on the job working with farmer experience into consideration? You know, a course on its own doesn't meet the level of CCA.
Yeah, just from my own experience in work of 45 years plus, I have a massive amount of experience, but I bring young people in who have specific skills training that I don't have. And parts of this would fit into that, into 25, 30, 40 years experience is still not going to give you every aspect you need in the certified crop advisor. I'm positive of that. We work with one. And I guess I'm leaning toward approving what staff has put out today with supplying all the help we can to Orange County and working to get their staff person up into a certified crop advisor status. My opinion.
I guess I still, the one thing I'm really struggling with is that, you know, the district staff person that's going out there, that's doing the planning, that's having the conversation with the farmer, that's doing the evaluation throughout the course of the project. They're able to do all those things if they're not a CCA, but they can't certify the practice in the end. I guess my feeling is if that person, you know, how do we, I can't balance that, because I feel like, well, if the district staff person is not qualified to certify it, they shouldn't be out there planning it and evaluating it with the farmer because they don't know enough about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. That was a, you know, hard, involved discussion, and you know, it continues to be, since we're talking about it today, right, Matt? In the development of this policy, the better version of the policy would be that, you know, all of these require a CCA or NRCS JAA or NRCS certified planner to, you know, work with the farm through the continuum of the soil health project. You know, I think even back in 2014, we realized that, you know, that would be a barrier too much to allowing districts the opportunity to get experiences with these practices. And the way we wrote it was that you know, everybody has the opportunity to get experiences with these practices and farmers interested in these practices, but you're going to work with a more experienced, educated, certified partner in those efforts. And that was sort of that compromise that you know is articulated in the current policy. In a perfect world, they'd all be CCAs. I got to say, we've, hats off to districts and the partners for pursuing things like CCA and AIM planner certification and, NRCS TSB and forestry and everything, because we've grown those number of individuals, even within the districts, up to 33 across 25 districts to date, and that's awesome. So you're exactly right, Matt. It's not perfect, but it's done with the intention that the district doesn't operate at the bare minimum. Where, I'm my goal in entering into a project is I'm just going to call the regional coordinator who's a CCA and they'll sign the paperwork. Certainly, that is how it could be interpreted and written. The intention is that they go into that project working with a CCA throughout and periodically, especially in areas where they could use that technical support. And there's a certified individual that's doing the project certification at the end. Bethany, I cut you off, I think. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I wanted to mention as well that the situation you described, Matt, is also very similar to relationships that districts have with private engineers. So a lot of the structural practices that are implemented through our cost share programs require professional engineer certification. And districts, while they might not have a PE on staff, have many years of experience. They have that technical capacity. They've built a relationship with professional engineer. They actually do the design work and utilize the PE for sign off. So I think it's kind of a parallel situation, the district working with someone who does have that certification and the credentials to sign off on the particular practice, even though, they're the actual ones who were out there planning and designing.
Yeah, I guess I see engineering practices a little differently than agronomic practices myself, but
I believe there was a hand raised. Nicole?
Morning, everybody. I'm glad this topic actually came up. I work at Farm Service Agency. I'm the conservation specialist at the state office. I was actually just having this conversation with NRCS state office yesterday because we did have many in-field CREP trainings across the state. Scott was with us on this tour, FICBOM. And job approval authority was something that NRCS was pushing in for the CREP program. I know myself, we are looking for folks to get job approval authority, and yesterday it was explained to me, the process in which folks at SWCD would need to go through in order to get JAA. It was never mentioned to me that CCA was part of that deal. However, it did say something about the memorandum of understanding would have to be signed by the district, but also a contribution agreement would need to also be signed in order for the district to get paid. I did not realize what a process this would be for soil and water. I thought it was not going to be that cumbersome, to be honest with you, but I did not hear anything about CCA. And Greg, could you let me know, is that one of the requirements is to be a CCA as well? Or they just have to have the knowledge, skills, and abilities as well?
Nicole, thanks for raising your hand and layering in there. CCA would not be a requirement for JAA. We brought that up and talked to some colleagues in NRCS at the state office in the idea of it being just checking in here in the summer of 2024 on another option for certification that also happens to be currently listed in our soil health policy.
Okay.
So, it's totally in the light of, hey, you're a CCA, or you have NRCS JAA, or you're an NRCS certified planner in a district.
Okay.
Good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your help on all those CREP trainings.
Oh, absolutely. It was amazing. I really appreciate everything. And just so I can let all the folks here know, like SWCD, all the districts are imperative to our program, and just saying thanks again for everything y'all do, especially being our, one of our TSPs, and helping us out with our conservation plans and all of our practices and getting conservation on the ground through CREP. So thank you.
We really appreciate your partnership approach.
Oh.
More comments, anyone? Nicole?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Anyone?
I guess just the last point that I would like to make kind of goes back to, I think, a previous comment. I'm not sure who made it, but when you think about the numbers that Brian reported through CRF round 8, we received applications for like over 100,000 acres of cover crop. That's with our current policy in place. So, those districts applied for those cover crops full well knowing what the requirements would be to implement those if they actually get funded. So, I guess I just go back to, I'm not sure that this, is a statewide issue at this time. So I think that should be a factor in the decision that the voting members make here today.
And the other issue is, if it's not a statewide issue, how much time can we request of staff to dedicate to try to fix something that may not be a statewide issue, when with all the grant money increasing and all the rounds that we're now having to, you now are having to manage in all the aspects, there isn't time. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, just for my own clarification, so you put the, I don't know, you put it up earlier about what's required to become a CCA, but somebody with this kind of experience, they could basically take the test with that kind of experience. Is that right?
That's correct.
So, I mean, there's nothing stopping that. It's not like they have to go through all the training like a brand new tech would have to do in order to take the test.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So really, as long as they take the test, everybody else has to take a test to show their comprehension of the subject. So, and if there's alternatives, if they can do a bulk of the work and somebody else signs off on it, yeah, I guess I'd have to kind of agree with your recommendation as well.
Kevin Sumner has his hand raised, Dale.
Please, Kevin.
Yeah, I can see where this is going, and we certainly don't want the state committee staff to expend a lot of time just on my behalf if this isn't a statewide issue, but I do have a couple of thoughts. When this was discussed at a previous meeting, our director, Paula, brought up the common sense factor, and I thought that there was some appreciation of that on the part of some of the voting members. I really feel like I have to say I see a big disconnect between a lot of the people that are professionals working on this stuff and what happens out in the field with farmers and how these practical farmers make decisions. And I'll give you an example. When we take our corn planter around, sometimes we'll ask the farmer how much fertilizer he wants, and he'll say, I don't know, what did the last guy do? And this is not a diss on farmers. It's that, you know, we're working with dairy farmers who have a herd to take care of and they got a million things to do and they don't have the time to go home and think about what multi-species cover crop they're going to put in. A lot of them, if they can get 2 bushels of rye planted after they get the corn silage off before October 20th, then that's what they try to do. And that's not rocket science. And we can, if I can't go out and determine that a farmer drilled 2 bushels of rye in and established a successful cover crop, and after being here for 44 years, if there can't be a consensus that that I can sign that piece of paper, then I feel like things have just gotten way out of hand. That's all I have to share right now. Thank you.
I agree with all the points, but I feel we have to have follow-up protocol, and if a certain person has that many years and they can pass the test, I think it's great. But we gotta have some consistency and a follow protocol standard across the state.
Yeah, I could, you know, I could take the test. I don't know if I'd pass it or not. I think I probably would. Then I'd have a whole nother set of continuing education requirements. I already have I've been a CPESC certified. I'm now certified through the New York State program that requires me to get certified credits during the year. And at some point, if we can't just have some common sense recognition of the value of experience, and I've worked with enough people, I've worked closely enough with Ben and many AEAs before him and many other staff members. And I think what we were looking for was a common sense statement that if this isn't a statewide problem and we can make it easier for Orange County with a consensus decision, then that's what we were looking for. We weren't looking for state committee staff to rehash, 100 pages of historical policy documents.
But this is pertinent to a statewide policy, so if we were to allow that exception for one district, we would have to consider some way to do that for other districts as well. So it is bigger than just your district.
That's the problem. All right, we need to move forward on this. So is one of the voting members willing to make a motion on one way or another, or what do they think?
I'd make a motion to accept the recommendation of the state committee.
Second, please.
I'll second it, Scott.
We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Matt? Didn't hear you, Matt. You muted.
I still have too many things I'm struggling with.
You want to abstain for now?
I'm going to abstain, yes.
All right. I'm gonna vote to maintain the program as the recommendation is. So it's approved, but I also want to add that I understand exactly what Kevin is saying, but I also don't want to open up a can of worms on our state program. And I think you would open up a can of worms on the state program. And we've had some comments from other districts asking it not to be changed because of the possibility of that. So I want every bit of help that can possibly be in to help Orange County through the interim until they can get somebody up and running. Thank you.
Discussion.
Next on our agenda is Greg and Bethany with subcommittee updates.
So I think it's mainly just going to be me. I wanted to give the state committee an update on where things are with our state programs advisory committee, as well as our technical advisory committee. For the technical advisory committee update, we have not had a meeting since January, so we are behind in that meeting schedule, but we are looking to schedule a meeting the first week of September. I saw a chat come through early on in the meeting. I have not scheduled that yet or sent out a meeting invite, but we'll do so as soon as possible. For our state programs advisory committee, we've been holding these meetings every other month since December, which was when we had our first meeting of that group. So we've had a total of 4 meetings. This continues to be a really excellent platform to discuss RFP development for our existing programs, and we've been able to use that to talk about developing an RFP for a new program, which Jason reported on last month. It's our CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Management and Methane program. So it continues to be, I think, a really successful platform. We are able to open it up to all districts who want to participate and be involved in those discussions. And it's just a great way to interact with them and get feedback on our programs. At our most recent meeting, which we had at the end of June, we sought feedback from districts on various elements of the Ag Non-Point Source program, specifically helping to give us some direction to move forward for round 30, as Jason mentioned. We are actively working on that RFP and we'll be presenting it to the state committee in September. In June, at the state programs advisory meeting, we focused on the application form and the utility of it. So we heard from districts on their experiences using, the form through round 29, and are hoping to take that feedback and use it to create a more user-friendly, application form that's also, serves the purpose for our advisory members who review and score those proposals. In addition to round 30 elements, we had a really great discussion with districts about equipment purchasing and heard from districts regarding their experiences with purchasing equipment through our cost share programs. So as we heard, I think a couple of months ago now at our state committee meeting, there's some concerns out there about providing cost share assistance to purchase equipment. So we talked with districts about some, various ideas that are out there and how to move forward with that, and some particular options that we might want to offer through our cost share programs. Again, it was, really great to hear from those districts who've been successful in implementing those types of projects through their district, as well as get some reaction to some ideas that we're having. Our next State Programs Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for the end of August, I believe August 29th. So we're keeping up on that every other month schedule. I think it's been working out really well, and encourage folks to attend as appropriate. Greg, do you have anything that you want to add on to from our last meeting?
As usual, well summarized. Thanks, Bethany.
And And I'll just mention too that we we record each meeting, and those recordings are posted to our SharePoint website, as well as any meeting materials that we might develop and share during those meetings. So they're accessible to any district who has access to our SharePoint site. But that's all. I wanted to just kind of update the group on how that's been going, and our last State Programs Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Voting advisory staff reports. Darren, you have anything?
I don't think so, Dale.
Scott?
Not much other than the National Marathon is coming up. I think Blanche still could use some help if anybody's available. Not too late to do the training or whatever.
Matt? Thank you.
They're,
Anything?
They're demoing the one building on the property where the district's building their new office in Fulton County. And hopefully we'll be starting construction on the new office in the near future. And one thing we did is we took the comptroller's report on Otsego County, the audit, and we've been going through that and using it as sort of a checklist for the district to see if there's any things in that report that we need to improve upon. So we found that to be really helpful.
You're welcome, by the way.
I'll turn it over to you, Bethany.
Thanks, Dale. I have nothing further to. Oh, actually, no, I do want to report. So in August, I received approval to attend the, it's the NACD meeting, summer meeting in Boston. As part of that meeting, I'll be attending the National Association of State Conservation Agencies Northeast Region meeting. So I'm really looking forward to meeting others from state committees in the Northeast region, and hearing from them about some of the issues that they're experiencing in their state. So I'm doing that the beginning of August, so I will report back in September.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is truly excellent. Just real quick, the Division of Land and Water Resources is going to be having an all-hands staff meeting on August 8th and 9th. It's just an FYI for folks, but just to especially let our state committee voting members know that this will be an opportunity to bring all of our staff across programs and regional responsibilities under one roof here, together with our ag protection programming staff. And, again, just continuing to work together as an entire division, because, the work that our ag protection programming staff is doing, the soil and water committee staff are doing, and certainly the work that soil and water districts do with farmers and communities day in and day out, continue to, run in parallel to one another and routinely mix with one another. So we're excited about that, and truly excited to have Commissioner Ball join us for the first day of our staff meeting, so that we can sit down and have an informal chat with our commissioner about our vision and shared goals and objectives. And of course, our Deputy Commissioner Elizabeth Walters will be engaged in that discussion as well. So just as an FYI, but we'll be spending a couple of days together here in Albany in the beginning of August. And of course, we've got new staff to connect with our existing staff, and a chance for folks to get to know one another on a more than a WebEx and a phone call basis.
Okay, thanks. All I have is another plug for the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient and Methane Management Program. The RFP's out, and it's due in October, which will come up sooner than you think. Questions are being accepted now. The first batch of Q&As was released on July 8th, and the next batch of answers will be on August 2nd. So as we run through it, if you have any questions, just shoot them to me, and we'll get them out to you. So thank you.
Benton.
I'm all set, thanks.
All right. So, advisory members, I'll just call you out, and if you have a report, please share it. So, Ag and Markets. Not sure if Jeff's still on. Okay, how about Cornell Kales? CDEA.
Thank you, Bethany. Bethany, I did submit a report to you and to Melissa for the minutes. I am excited to share some highlights. If I can find my report, bear with me here 1 second. Our conservation skills workshop is the committee has worked very hard to obtain a great slate of workshops and of trainings for the 2024 conservation skills. All of those training course descriptions are due to Tom tomorrow, and you can save the date for this year's event. It will be held September 23rd through 26th in Auburn. There is also a New York State's Erosion and Sediment Control Certification Program review course being offered August 14th and 15th in Ballston Spa, and the exam will be held August 16th. So that's great news for anyone interested in becoming certification to teach that course. I do know that instructors are greatly needed to alleviate those people who have been instructing the course for a number of years. At our most recent CDEA meeting, our board approved committees and appointments, and those are available on our website if you need a point of contact for any of the committees that CDEA is involved in. Our golf tournament is coming up to support CDEA initiatives, and that will be held August 1st, 10 o'clock in Canastota. And I do believe that the registration form was blitzed out recently. As a lot of people have mentioned, I do want to echo that the National Conservation Foundation Envirothon desperately needs volunteers. I saw that Ryan Cunningham and Blanche from Ryan from State Committee and Blanche from NYACD sent out another call for volunteers. I did pop the registration link in the chat box. Please consider volunteering. Dustin Lewis, Saratoga County Conservation District Manager, is heading up this year's admin conference, and he's locked in the dates. So please save the date for the admin conference, November 18th and 19th, to be held in Saratoga County. Also exciting news for the 2025 Water Quality Symposium. Our CDEA President, Jessica Anderson, reviewed hotel RFPs at our last meeting, and the board approved the Hyatt Regency in Rochester. And Jessica, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the dates are March 11th through 14th, 2025. We are also scheduling a meeting with a subcommittee to review and update our CDEA bylaws, incorporating comments that we missed at the annual meeting. And our New York State Fair CDEA booth is looking for volunteers, and that survey link is also on the website. Bethany and Dale, thank you very much.
Thank you, Caitlin, and thank you also for sending the written report. Makes it a lot easier on the minutes. Appreciate it. DEC.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. How about Department of Health?
Nothing to report today. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of State?
Yeah. How are we doing on time? Because I have a few slides I could share, but I can just talk fast if that's
We are doing,
preferable.
no, we are doing good on time, so have at it.
Okay. All right. So, been promising, I've been mentioning this at a lot of meetings, and I keep saying it's coming, but so the Bond Act, eligibility criteria for the 2 Department of State programs went out on last Wednesday. So Department of State's funding is through the restoration and flood risk reduction portion of the Bond Act, where it was stated that no less than 100 million would be available to do coastal rehabilitation, shoreline restoration projects, and projects that address inland flooding. So we have Department of State has $100 million for the inland flooding and the local waterfront revitalization program. Excuse me. And then 100 million for the coastal rehabilitation and resilience projects program, which is a new program. The inland flooding and local waterfront revitalization program is very similar to the LWRP program. So districts who have worked with us in the past as partners on some LWRP implementation, this will look very similar. Both of these projects or these programs will be funding from about 30% design on, including construction. This would be eligible communities within the LWRP program. And then the new program, the Coastal Rehabilitation and Resilience Projects program, is a little different. And you'll see highlighted here, soil and water conservation districts are eligible to receive this funding. These projects must be located within the New York State coastal area and non-point source boundary, which I'll show you in the next slide. Again, design and construction projects identified in state, regional, or other local management plans and programs. Projects to address habitat ecosystem resilience, restoration, climate resiliency, risk reduction, and stormwater management. This is your map. So it is most of the state. These projects, you could qualify. So timing. Both of these are out for a 30-day public comment period as of July 10th. This public comment period ends August 9th, and then we are hoping to release the RFAs through the CFA towards the end of August, likely. We have to get it through all the approvals and stuff internally, but that's our projection at the moment. So for those not familiar with the Environmental Notice Bulletin, there's is a link where you can go and take a look. We are pushing a lot of information out, hoping to make as many people and communities aware of this as possible. This is also a unique time. So once an RFA is released to the Department of State, we have very strict, pretty much like no communication. So, you know, we can't really answer any questions or provide any assistance once an RFA is open, but this eligibility period does not count in that. So if communities, soil and waters have questions about projects, if they'd be eligible, this is your time. So definitely reach out. I'll put my email in the chat for those that don't already have it. But yeah, that's the big thing. Other than the CFA for the LWRP, well, and a lot of CFA grant programs are closing at the end of the month.
Thank you for sharing those, Kate. I'm glad that you guys are finally able to get over the hump and get those eligibility criteria out there to get that 30-day, public notice comment period, out of the way. We had to follow the same procedure to be able to utilize Bond Act funds. When those RFAs do get announced, do you anticipate offering like a webinar or something of that nature to go through the program?
Yeah, so we're expecting at least one webinar, probably more than one. But yes, there will be some webinars available.
Which is really great. So I'll just put it out there when the announcement does come that the programs are out there. We will certainly help you to blast that out to districts, but also any information about the webinars, we can get that out to districts as well. So if they are interested in participating or submitting an application, they can participate in those webinars.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I'll definitely send all that to you.
Very cool.
Yeah, so as since it's not approved yet, I'll say this tentatively. It's 15 million for the inland program, inland LWRP, and 20 million for the coastal for this first year.
That's great.
Yep. And that's
Thank
all
you
for
for
me.
that report.
Yeah. Exciting to be able to finally say it. I feel like for the last 6 months, as I say, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
And here it is. So, oh yeah, hopefully all the other timing stays on track and you can get it out when you want it to.
Yes.
All right. I believe that is all the advisory members we have on the line. So I will bounce back to our state committee staff who are participating online. Greg, do you have any other items to report today?
A couple quick ones here, Bethany and everybody. Just a final plug for a very exciting event that's in New York State this week. And that's the North American Manure Expo. On our state committee staff, Brendan Jordan has been playing point along with Ron Bush. And Brendan's a part of a lot of things, including a presentation with a farmer on Thursday, as well as a manure spreader calibration kind of demonstration and manure spreader vendor demonstration on Thursday. So tickets are still available. You can go to that website in the link and scroll down to see the agenda. Tomorrow is mainly focused on tours in the morning. I think those are all sold out. And then the show opens in the afternoon for demonstrations. And then Thursday is a mix of presentations and tents as well as demonstrations. So looking forward to that, and hats off to all the partners, particularly Cornell Pro Dairy and the farmers involved, not the least the Patterson family just south of Auburn there, who are hosting the expo on their land. The other thing that's very exciting every year for us to announce in partnership with the department and the Sand County Foundation is the finalists for this year, the 2024 AIM Leopold Conservation Award. And those are the Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District and Humbert Farms in Rose, New York. The Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District and Sunnyside Farms in Scipio Center, and the Essex County Soil and Water Conservation District and the Ben Weaver Farm up in Willsboro. So hats off to those three finalists, and among them, a winner will be selected and announced later this summer. So thanks for everybody in all of the districts who submitted nominations. All noteworthy and of congratulations, and then a special congratulations to the finalists. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you, Greg. Chastity, do you have a report for today?
I am in week 2, so I am still working away on getting myself connected. Greg has been fabulous at helping me out. And so thank you so much for all the warm welcomes. So nothing too technical today. Thanks.
Thank you. Ryan Cunningham.
Nothing else today, Bethany. Thank you.
Right. Brendan, are you still on the line with us?
I checked Bethany and he had to shift. They're setting
Okay.
things up at the expo grounds. So that's why I did his presentation there.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler.
Nothing further for me. Thanks, Bethany.
Okay, thank you very much. That is all of our state committee staff. Any conservation districts on the line have anything to share with the state committee today? Any members of the public who are on the line? Any reports? Hearing none, Dale, I believe we can conclude the comment and reporting portion of our agenda.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to bring up before we have as our next meeting? But anything else? Next meeting date should be September because we skip August.
Correct. So we would be looking at September 17th, which is the third Tuesday of that month.
Voting members, what do you think?
That's fine with me.
Darren?
Looks okay at this point.
Yeah. Scott?
I have no schedule, it's just.
Probably be
No
in
worries.
coincider's time, but what the heck? Okay, we'll shoot for September 17th.
Great. And I do want to just mention that I am still working with our partners at Cornell to schedule the October State Committee meeting. And we are shooting for October 17th and 18th. They are actively working to secure us some meeting space. So I'll keep everybody updated on that as well.
All right, thank you. That would be great. Good meeting. It will happen, hopefully. I think we've covered everything today, everybody. So meeting's adjourned and have a great summer, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.